Hello, and welcome to our Time for Machine Heavenly Hercules assembly video part 7. So as you remember last time we were looking at the wing. So now you're going to take this little piece off of sheet 3, which looks just like this, and they show you bending it to look like the contour shown here, but it's not really said exactly where the bend marks are. I found them to be just past the second propeller shaft, where this little circle and tab is, to bend it slightly here, and also on this side just past this propeller shaft and tab. So that's what I'm showing here. And notice that it's bending down with relationship to the propeller shaft sticking towards you and the tabs facing away from you, because eventually you're going to turn it facing up and the bends will face, in this picture they are facing aft, because now you're going to put the little lock on here, another piece that is shown right here on sheet 3. And they want you to install it on this, I would call it a spar, and then they want you to fold the little tabs. And notice the direction of this little bar will end up being on the right hand side of the aircraft. So here's the pilot side or left side, and this is the co-pilot side or the right side of the aircraft. And the locking tab will face aft. But then these little fingers on the part that they show right here are going to get folded over and then back up around this little spar, and then you'll end up with what you would call a sliding locking mechanism. So obviously when you slide it this way towards the pilot side, it'll keep the gears from turning by inserting this tab into the teeth, and then by sliding it back to the passenger side it will unlock it. Okay, now they're showing you putting the spar down into the wing, and notice you have slots on the wing. And then you're going to take and twist the eyelets underneath. And again, on each edge you've got 2 layers of metal because of the pylons here, just like we did on the trailing edge. But on this leading side we have 2 layers of metal right here at the ends for you to bend the tab under. The rest of it's all single sheet. Next we're going to take and make cowlings for the little pylons. So you're going to take these 2 little pieces off of sheet number 2 and these little pieces off of sheet number 4. And you're going to put these little half circle pieces on each of the pylons into the little slot that you see right here. And then you're going to take the other piece, one of them from sheet 4, and notice that the bend lines are up underneath this part. They never mention any of the bend lines like I've told you before, but I've noticed that in this case the bend lines are facing down. You will want to take this tab and bend it up first, slide it into place, and then you'll be bending this little tab back down to hold the part in place. And also you bend this part over the little half moon shape, and you end up with something like this. Sorry, I was probably a little too close there. You can see I've got the propellers in here too, and I'll go over that some more too, since I'm not quite there yet. But anyway, there's your pylons with the little cowlings on it. Same way with the passenger side. And they show you doing the same exact steps on the right hand that you did on the left. Now we start making the propellers and the shafts. They show you parts removed for 2 propellers here, but yet they state 2 times, 2 times, and most of the pictures they only show one side putting in, but here later they show both propellers in place, and yet they want you to get 2 cowlings. So anyway, I made 2, but I'm a little disappointed in how they made the propellers, because you take tabs, obviously, these little bitty tabs that I've talked to you about before. There's the smaller tabs, and you take 2 propellers, 2 gears, and then these little bitty, you could call it a union tab, and little circles. So the union tab goes through, once you put the little circular part on 2 prop shafts side by side, you end up taking 1 propeller shaft and bending 2 of the propeller blades this way and 2 of the propeller blades on the opposite part the other way, and then you put them back to back, and then you slide the little circle on and the gear, put the little tab through here, and then you twist each one of these sides on either side of the shaft, and then the same way with these 2 little tabs, you put them through and twist them. And on the gear you had the little flip over pieces like they've done before. But I noticed that when you do this, your propeller doesn't look exactly symmetrical because of the way that they've shown you to bend these. I think it would have been better, this is just my opinion, if the pieces had been true crossway, and even you could take the propeller blades and I probably still could do that, twist them in such a way to where they look like they have a pitch to them and look a little bit more realistic. So they take and bend the little top part of the spar that holds the shaft for the propeller, and they bend it forward just enough to get the tail part of the propeller shaft in there to line up with the gear, and then they bend it back into place. This is done with almost all of them. Well, I should say it is done with all of them. And here we take 2 of the cowlings off of sheet 4, and we're bending them over. The bend lines face down, as I mentioned before, and then you bend over the part for the propeller shaft, and notice they show you turning it inwards so that you can get it over the propeller shaft. So now they show you tilting the cowling into place, which I've not actually done that yet. But now I was saying they show you the second propeller in place. So in either case, you're going to end up doing this, repeating this assembly over and over for each prop shaft. And here they show you twisting the tabs to hold the pylons in place. So then they show you bending the forward leading edge up, like I was mentioning to you before about the bend lines, will go towards the aircraft. And then they do the left side and install it, and then they bend the the right hand leading edge on the right hand side of the aircraft. So then they start making gear sets that'll be the ones that will attach all your propellers together, so that when the whole mechanism turns, all of the propellers will spin at the same time. And one other thing I noticed too is there's not any mention at all of how these gears are supposed to mesh together. Back previously, they show the assembly pretty good here, where you can see the teeth of the big round gear and this meshing with it. But it takes careful bending of some of these tabs to make sure that everything all lines up and meshes together. And some of it may not be fully complete until you get it all together. So this is just a consideration I'd like you to be aware of. Thank you for watching.